Was ist los, Metalheads, und willkommen zurück für Episode 42 des Horsemen Podcast here auf dem YouTube-Kanal von Thrash Maniac 99. I have no idea how to speak German. Probably. I probably would have. I felt like making a dumbass of myself for this intro. Alright, anyways, welcome back to the Horsemen Podcast, as, episode 42, as I so clearly and eloquently said before. But yeah, for this episode, we are doing top 10 debuts, but of course, as always, I'm joined by Ricky. All the way over there, Raphael. Sadly, you can't see his handsome mug, but Arthur. And then right next to me, the always lovely Hannah Klein. and then, oh god, and then joining us, Raphael's friend, Andres. No problemo. So yeah, if we're talking debut albums, oh good lord, this is... I mean, I know we say a lot that these episodes are difficult, but this one was fucking difficult. Because in the world of metal and hard rock in general, there is a lot of great debuts out there. Some of debuts are even the best albums of a band's career. And we might talk about some examples of that as we go along, but... when it comes to debut albums, for me, when it comes to in extreme metal, it all depends on, like, the energy a band projects. Like, a great example, even though it's not on my list, but Cannibal Corpse, Eaten Back to Life. You can definitely tell that they were just into it because they were just so energetic about going into a studio professionally for the first time. And it's like, yeah, compared to the rest of the catalog, it's definitely not their best, but I love it because it's got that old school thrash influence on top of their gory death metal, like inspired by Sodom, Creator, Possessed early on. And it was very energetic, while not that great in terms of legacy, but then you get debuts such as one that I'm sure a lot of us will be probably talking about, Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness, where you could argue it's the best album of their career and they've never topped it. Even though they've come close with a couple of releases after, nothing can top Altars of Madness. So, and then of course you get debuts that are like middle ground, where it's one of the best, but not the best. Like, let's say... Show No Mercy by Slayer, for example. A great, energetic beginning to Slayer by having that more Nawabum-inspired sound before they went full-on brutal, starting with Hell Awaits, and then pushed even further on Rain and Blood. But yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of debuts out there that you should look out for in terms of quality, impact, and where does it fit in a band's discography. So I feel with all that said and done, let's get into honorable mentions, and I shall start. I got 10 honorable mentions to go through. I probably will have more when people bring up others I forgot about, but to start things off a little bit easy, I got the first album from Bathory. I mean, raw, evil-sounding first-wave black metal that kind of borders on thrash a little bit, especially the song Reaper and Sacrifice, where it's very thrash-oriented. And I saw a review say it's like as if you were to mix Venom with Bay Area thrash and just have like a drinking party all about evil early on. So yeah, I got the self-titled debut of Bathory. I feel like Artur might kill me for having this in honorable mentions, but Merciful Fate Melissa. But yeah, it's a classic. But yeah, a classic debut from one of the best bands of all time, and also King Diamond. I mean, what more can you say? Next up, I have Show No Mercy. I mean, in 83 had two important thrash debuts. This and another one that I'll talk about later. Next up, I wanted to put this in the top 10 so bad, but there was just so much heavy competition. I had to put in honorable mentions. And also, when it comes to their discography, not their best, but certainly a great introduction point. Self-titled debut from Iron Maiden. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, you got classics on here like Remember Tomorrow, Iron Maiden, Phantom of the Opera, of course, and a whole bunch of others. But I feel when it comes to the overall discography of Iron Maiden, it definitely falls down. Yeah, Charlotte the Harlot. It definitely falls lower in my ranking of Maiden albums, but it's still a classic debut nonetheless. Next up, another one I feel Artur is going to really kill me over. Dio Holy Diver. I mean, it's a classic among classics when it comes to debuts. I mean, the title track, Rainbow in the Dark, Stand Up and Shout, Don't Talk to Strangers. The list goes on and on with this album, and it's one that I definitely need to get in my collection at some point. Yeah, next up, we were talking about this band before we went live, because Ricky here made friends with them on Facebook somehow. And we're talking about the classic debut by Pioneers, Possess Seven Churches. Satanic Bay Area thrash that influenced death metal. I mean, the song death metal gave the genre name, kind of like Venom black metal. Like, I feel like this, as well as another album I'll be talking about later, it's like the Venom black metal and Bathory self-titled debut. It's like this and another album. It's like this was the Venom, the other band was the Bathory, if you can get the correlation. I'm not going to spoil what it is, because it's on the list, but yeah, Possess Seven Churches, and really their whole discography is classic. I mean, even Beyond the Gates, even though some people said it wasn't that good, they don't have a clue what they're talking about. Yeah, it wasn't as produced, but it was evil, but very thrashy. And then even the Eyes of Horror EP with Joe Satriani on the production chair was good. And then Revelations of Oblivion, I look forward to seeing what they're going to be doing next, if anything. Next up, I talk about this band endlessly, and that's Broken Hope, the classic Swampton Gore. I mean, Broken Hope, you want to talk about a raw alternative to the New York death metal sound with a particular band that will be on the list. You want to hear like almost a black metal production in the world of brutal death? This is the album. Yeah, it's digital recording, but it sounds so bad, it's good. So, and rest in peace, Joe Ficek and Ryan Stanek, two original members. Next up, one of the few thrash debuts I have on the list. Like, thrash has a lot of great debuts, but compared to other subgenres of metal, doesn't have as much. But one of those that you cannot ignore, Exodus Bonded by Blood. The only album with legendary frontman Paul Bailoff, rest in peace. I mean, top to bottom, from the title track through to A Lesson in Violence. I mean, if you do not have this album, you are not a thrash fan. That's like not having Kill 'Em All, not having Show No Mercy, not having The Legacy, not having Seven Churches. Yeah, this is a classic among classics. And in my opinion, still to this day, the best Exodus album. Yeah. Next up, I know our mutual pal, Mr. Dylan Jacobs, Kamikaze Games, would love me for this. Soul of a New Machine by Fear Factory. Before they went industrial, they were a death grind band, where they just went full-on growls with some clean vocals. Like, Burton Seabell and Dan Swano should be given credit for creating the quote-unquote good cop, bad cop vocals where melodic and guttural come together. Without them two, you wouldn't have metalcore. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Burden left the band, but yet his vocals are still on the new Fear Factory album coming out next year, so, but sadly it's the end of an era. So, yeah, which sucks that Burden's not in the band anymore, and who could they get to replace him? Yeah, and there's only 2 members left, Dino and Mike Heller, that's it. But, yeah, Soul of a New Machine from top to bottom. You want to hear sheer brutality before they went full-on mechanistic. This is their raw beginnings. My last one might be controversial, but I can't ignore this album. I grew up on this album as a kid, and I still love it to this day. And that's Godsmack's self-titled debut. I'm a big... It's controversial because they're kind of on the fringe line, because they were called nu metal, even though I don't think they're nu metal at all. I'd call them an alternative metal band. Kind of like if you were to mix Black Album Metallica with Alice in Chains. That's where you get Godsmack, in my opinion. But, I mean, there's just some great classics for me on here, like Moon Baby, Whatever, Keep Away, Bad Religion, Voodoo. I mean... Me and my brothers loved this band, and up until When Legends Rise, they had a pretty solid catalog until they had to release that pile of crap. But yeah, early beginnings for one of my favorite mainstream bands. And those are all my honorable mentions. Ricky? Yeah, and yeah, the only reason I didn't have it on the list is because I feel when it came to the grander scheme of debuts, it doesn't quite hold up, especially compared to their next album, Slave to the Grind, where they went away with the glam and full-on metal. Same here. Yeah. The King Diamond falsetto, yeah. Yeah, I forgot to mention that too. It's on my list. Yep. Lee Kersley, yeah. Yep. Goodbye to Romance, one of the best ballads of all time. Goodbye to Romance, one of the best ballads of all time. Goodbye to Romance, one.
No, that's weird. I am good. I mean, I don't know if I'm muted or I'm low.
Or probably message him. Probably he has problems with his mic.
Now I realize what happened. I made the same error on the Shadow Call podcast. I forgot to unmute the desktop audio.
Oh, God.
So they missed all of my... Oh, well.
Oh, God.
They seen some of them, but yeah. Oh, well.
Alright, so I'm gonna, just in case, I'm gonna put it back. Skid Row, The Sexual Chamberlain, Ozzy from Blizzard of Oz, and last but not least, Van Halen by Van Halen.
You...
Oh, Van Halen won!
Yeah.
It's on my list.
As a tribute to the late, great now, Eddie Van Halen, who recently passed away, one of the greatest guitarists out there. If you talk about, I mean, a song like freaking Eruption. That guitar solo, come on. And it has probably my favorite song, Running with the Devil.
Yeah.
But not only that, ain't talking about love.
Atomic Punk. Ice Cream Man's a good cover. It's a fun cover. On Fire.
Really got me?
On Fire. Jamie's Crying.
Even the covers from the Kinks, the song from the Kinks, is kind of good.
Yeah, arguably the greatest cover song of all time.
Yeah, it did, and it gets played a lot.
Yeah, even though it's so overplayed, you can't deny it.
Yeah. So those are my honorable mentions. But Levi, you can just say your honorable mentions one more time, just in case somebody didn't hear them.
Okay, so real quick, my honorable mentions, I'll mention the ones that I don't have CDs of yet. I had Bathory self-titled debut, Merciful Fate Melissa, Iron Maiden self-titled, and Dio Holy Diver, as well as Godsmack's self-titled debut, Fear Factory, Soul of a New Machine, Exodus Bonded by Blood, Broken Hope Swamped in Gore, Possess 7 Churches, and Slayer Show No Mercy. Hannah.
Well, I have 8 honorable mentions. The first one is Dio Holy Diver. In my opinion, a phenomenal album, and I mean, I really like Rainbow Rising, and this feels like the proper continuation.
Which is not the debut of Rainbow. I had to look it up. It was
same year.
Richie Blackmore's Rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second one is also Merciful Fate's Melissa. Awesome concept album, and I mean, who doesn't love King Diamond on vocals? Next, now time for Mass Murder. Morbid Angels, Authors of Madness.
Not quite. It's on my list, but not very high.
No Mass Murder yet.
Well, I'm glad that I'm fine and nobody got hurt.
For now. I got a feeling later on there's going to be Mass Murder.
But the thing is, I had 2 death metal albums that I considered putting on the list, but Morbid Angel, out of the 2 of them, didn't make it because I think the other one is better.
And
but
I might have an idea as to which one.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's on my list, too.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that one later. Then I have Creator Endless Pain.
Raw Beginnings. Yep.
I really like that album, especially since Flag of Hate is on there, and other classic songs, but I personally prefer Pleasure to Kill over
here.
Endless Pain.
Yeah. Same here.
For me, that's the classic Creator album, and I wanted to tie it with another band, but in the end, I thought because Pleasure of Kill is the more important one, let's just put it on the honorable mentions list. Then I have maybe a bit of a weird choice, Lynyrd Skynyrd's debut album.
Ooh.
Lynyrd Skynyrd. Yeah.
I forgot about Skynyrd.
I mean, once in a while, I enjoy some southern rock, and my two go-to bands for this are ZZ Top and Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Yep.
And this album has so many classic songs on there, like Freebird and Simple Man. In my opinion, it's the best Lynyrd Skynyrd album ever, and I really enjoy listening to this one. Then next one, Ulver Bergtatt.
Bergtatt. Yeah.
Yeah. In my opinion, the best out of the classic Ulver black metal trilogy. Although I really like Nathan's Madrigal, I think Bergtatt is the more melodic one and has a better production. And overall, I prefer the songs over Nathan's Madrigal. And I think it did a lot for kickstarting the kind of folky influences that would later blossom within black metal. Therefore, it's here. And then second to last, Imperium, A Winter Sunset. The Thinking Man's black metal, awesome combination of black metal and classical music. I love Imperium. They're not as much in your face as many other black metal bands, but more mellow, a bit quieter. Yeah, I mean, it gets you thinking and so on. And I really like Imperium. Awesome album, especially since it was their debut album. And then the last one, Deep Purple, Shades of Deep Purple.
You went for the psychedelic era.
Yeah, but still, I mean, there's...
Okay.
I mean, I really like some of the songs on here, and I think it set a path for the later heavier albums, and I think Hush. I had it on my car today,
Classic.
and I just love that song, especially since Quentin Tarantino put it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I really love that.
Now that you mention Deep Purple, honorable mentions to Led Zeppelin 1. I forgot Led Zeppelin 1.
It's on my honorable mentions as well.
And then since you brought up, Hannah, that you brought up Endless Pain by Creator, I thought about putting Obsessed by Cruelty by Sodom on honorable mentions, but since there are two versions of it, the original version that Metal Blade released and then the European second version, if you ask me which version I like most, I like the original version a little bit more because it's a little more raw and a little more punky and a little more evil sounding.
I mean, I was looking up Sodom as well, but for me, the classic Sodom album is simply is Agent Orange.
Or Persecution Mania. Those two. But yeah. Artur.
Well, I got 9 honorable mentions. And
nine.
Not yet, but my number 9 is a German band.
Oh,
no spoilers. Yeah. But I have 9 honorable mentions, and I'll start with one that Hannah will absolutely hate me for it, but I have to put it here as one heck of a debut. Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. I mean, Night Train.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
No, but I mean, Night Train, Mr. Brownstone, Paradise City, Welcome to the Jungle, which is overplayed by heck.
Yeah.
So it's on my list. I also have Slayer's Show No Mercy as well. I went a bit with the kind of my countrymen from the other side of the ocean, Morbid Visions by Sepultura. I mean, it's a heck of a debut.
Yeah.
It is a heck of a debut, especially for what would become later on Schizophrenia, with a lot of the Schizophrenia songs in there, like Troops of Doom.
Yep.
The first Bathory album is there as well. I have Led Zeppelin 1, 2, which is also a hell of a debut. I mean, Stairway to Heaven. Who hasn't heard? And still to this day, the biggest joke in the world. No stairway denied.
Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin 4.
What?
Stairway to Heaven,
Yeah, it was on Led Zeppelin 4.
But still, I forgot. Sorry about that. But still, Led Zeppelin 1 is a hell of a debut for one of the best hard rock bands in the world. Mm-hmm. I also have I think I already mentioned, but I'll say it again, the first Bathory album as well. This one is a bit off topic, but I mean, Remission by Mastodon is also a hell of a debut as well.
Yeah.
I have Killing Is My Business as Business Is Good by Megadeth.
I forgot about that.
I was tempted to put Fistful of Metal by Anthrax, but I just thought that in the general consensus, while I can dig more Fistful of Metal in terms of grooviness, Killing Is My Business is thrash at its pure. Levi's going to hate me, but Levi is going to hate me for my next two debut albums.
Uh-oh.
Slowly We Rot by Obituary.
Not on my list, but it was almost made the cut.
Oh no, I think I know what the other one is.
But what's the other one?
Scream, Bloody, Gore by Death.
That's on my list.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
But the category that I had the most difficulty to choose the album that would go on my list was really death metal. There were so many great death metal albums, especially debut, like Cannibal Corpse, Seated Back to Life, Scream, Bloody Gore, Obituary's Slowly We Rot. Hell, even the first Asphyx album deserves to be on. Even the first Asphyx album deserves to be on the list, correct? But there can only be one, as the Highlander used to say, and we have already discussed which one is going to be.
Damn it!
It's Levi's number one. Scream, Bloody Gore.
it's not my number one. All right. Anyways, Raphael.
All right. For honorable mentions, I decided to put Metallica's Kill 'Em All.
You!
Oh boy! It's his number one! It's his number one!
We hit the nail right on the head.
Florida just committed murder!
Is he dead?
He dead.
He dead! He dead! He dead! He dead!
Alright. Next one, I got Morbid Angel's Altar of Madness.
That's the album.
Yep. Slayer's Show No Mercy.
To you.
I even decided to add Fozzy, like why not? Chris Jericho's band.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 Days Grace is subtitled album.
Ooh.
And last but not least, why, since you have it, Ricky, damn you, Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Ozzy. And that's it.
Why have you done this?
Well, now we have two people missing on camera.
Can you hear me?
I'm here. I'm here.
Why did you have to stab my heart out?
Kill them all.
It's my number one! It's my number one!
But I know that at least Ricky will mention my number one. I'm sure of it.
Well, Levi, it's my number 3. So if Raphael wasn't gonna mention it, I was gonna be the one killing your ass.
or me.
Hey, well, here you go.
Thankfully, it's not on my list. Thankfully, it's not on my list, but I know Ricky's going to murder me, and Hannah's going to murder me as well.
Oh yeah.
Of all the people, you, how?
Is this his first? Is this his first murder?
No, I've been
I think
murdered
so.
several times.
No, Raphael.
Oh, yeah, this is, yeah. Yeah, it
Yes,
is.
it is.
Of all the people, I never thought... Oh, my spirit's broken for good.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
Oh.
Andres, your honorable mentions, please.
Oh, my ribs.
I almost thought that Levi was going to put either the legacy or even Killing Is My Business.
I thought you would have Scream Bloody Gore at number 1. Honestly.
Yeah.
Well, you will be stunned surprised. Alright, Andres, your honorable mentions if you have any. Oh, I feel like I messed my ribs and my back after.
My neck and my back.
My pussy and my crack. Damn you, Nicki
Andres,
Minaj,
you
for
wanna
putting that meme out there.
Anyway, Andres, your honorable mentions?
Oh, okay. My honorable mentions, you guys are probably gonna hate me for this one. Napalm Death Scum.
Damn it!
Honorable mentions?
It's on my list. It's on my list.
Mudvayne 3D50. And I know they get tagged as new metal, but
I'd so much more
to
than
me,
new
they're
metal.
kinda like they kind of have like, for the album they kind of have like prog elements
Yeah.
as well as like, you kind of call it proggy new metal, but it's a very underrated album. Anyways, Ripping Corpse, Dreaming with the Dead.
Ooh. Going underground cult debuts.
Def-
Eric
Rap
Rutan's
stuff,
first band, yeah.
Yeah. This one, I know probably you guys don't like the genre, but Chelsea Green, Desolation of Aiden.
Not bad.
I think it's a pretty good album. This one I'm gonna mention is not metal, but you guys probably know them. It's a group, a 2-player group. Everything But the Girl, Aiden. That's in for the first album.
Not bad.
And the Spy's Icon, Consumed by Your Poison.
Ooh, early raw beginnings for deathcore.
Yeah. To me, it's like, in my opinion, they're like proto deathcore, just like Suffocation and the Red Chord. They're not exactly deathcore, but they definitely influence that style.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's it for my honorable mention.
Alrighty, and now time for the top 10 itself. And now I shall begin with my list. So I have 5 ties on the list itself, and let's begin with one of those ties. Starting with, of course, Altars of Madness, Morbid Angel. I mean, you want to hear probably one of the most evil-sounding albums in the late 80s. This was one of them. I mean, I always compare Morbid Angel to the band Immolation back in the early days when Immolation had that sinister sound to their music early on up until about 2006. But Altars of Madness was definitely the more influential of the evil satanic death metal side, more influential than Deicide Self-Titled, which almost made the list for me. But yeah, I mean, when you got tracks like Immortal Rites, Chapel of Ghouls, Maze of Torment, Evil Spells, so many classics. And one of the first albums that came out of Morrisound that reached national exposure in the late 80s. And then along next to it, I feel like this might be the album Hannah has, the one death metal debut on her list, Entombed Left Hand Path.
Oh,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's the one I have.
Honorable mentions.
I mean, when it comes to Swedish death metal, no album compares to this. Even though there are plenty of greats in that scene, like even Dismember's debut, Override of the Overture,
At the
a year
Gate,
later.
Slaughter of the Soul.
That's not a debut, but in the whole
Sorry.
Swedish death metal scene, yeah, that's a classic. Even Edge of Sanity, Crimson, Opeth, Blackwater Park. Heck, I could have even put the album by Carnage, Dark Recollections, on here, because it was their only album, and it was around the same time as Left Hand Path. But of course, when it comes to influence, Left Hand Path stands above them all. I mean, when you start the album with one of the best title tracks of all time, and then even other classics like Drowned, I'm trying to remember. But Life Goes On, that's a classic, even though I prefer the demo version of it better. Why am I blanking on? There's one particular song on there that I also really, really liked. To Google, because for some reason I can't remember. Bitter Loss, that was the one I was thinking of, where LG Petrov does some clean vocals. And he's got a nice, low, clean voice. And hope he makes a full recovery from bile duct cancer that he just got recently diagnosed with. So please recover, because I don't know what I would do if we lost him, because he's one of the best vocalists in death metal history. But yeah, Left Hand Path, the best Swedish death metal album of all time. Now on to number 9. 9. I got my second tie. 2 albums I consider companions, both on 2 different spectrums of tech death. One of them that's more on the groovy, traditional death metal end, and the other on the brutal death metal scale. First, I got Suffocation, Effigy of the Forgotten. You want to talk about dark, intense, brutal music? Suffocation is the band, along with Broken Hope, that pioneered brutal death. However, they went on 2 completely different paths of brutal death, whereas Broken Hope went for the more grindy, groovy style. Suffocation went into the more technical style, and one of the first tech death albums to have sophisticated songwriting, kind of like prog metal almost. And of course, without Suffocation, there is no brutal death, no deathcore, because they pioneered breakdowns and slams, and not like how bands after the 90s do it, where it just sounds so bad. They made them sound catchy and fun. So, and not to mention Frank Mullen, one of the greatest death metal vocalists of all time. Anytime I try to do death metal vocals, I try and outdo Frank Mullen, but it's so difficult because he's so deep. But yeah, Suffocation. And also Mike Smith, one of the best drummers in metal history. And then the other album is a nice companion to it, and that's Decapitated, Winds of Creation.
Oh,
Still baffles me that everybody in this band was so young. They were, what, like 3 when they did this album? No, not really. I think the average age was 16. Like, the drummer of Vitek, rest in peace, was only 15 when they recorded this album. And plus, Peter from Vader on the producer's chair for this. After all, it is kind of like Vader worship, but way more advanced, way more technical, way more groovy. And this is still an album I like to listen to top to bottom to this day. You start off with an amazing title track. In the middle, you get probably my favorite Decapitated song, Eye of Horus. And you close off with a 2-parter, Dance Macabre, not the Ghost version that came out later, but more of like a Mellotron, an evil horror movie Mellotron sound, leading into one of the best Slayer covers of all time, Mandatory Suicide. So, yeah, in my opinion, the most underrated Polish metal band, even though I'm not a big fan of their recent catalog because they got way too Pantera derivative. And now their guitarist is now in Machine Head. Good luck, because you are going to need it, because Rob Flynn's going to own your ass.
Oh, yeah, he is.
And in a bad way, too, where he's going to force you to write shitty music and not what you actually want to do.
And become an SJW.
Give me that metal, you French whore.
Oh,
Anyways, next up, it's been spoiled several times. It's Blizzard of Oz. I went through a period in high school whenever, during lunchtime, after I would eat, I would go straight to the library computer and I would go on a website called like Groove Shark, which was kind of like the precursor to Spotify, and I would listen to songs off this album endlessly. I mean, like we said, Mr. Crowley, Crazy Train, Suicide Solution, the all-time classics, but then you get Goodbye to Romance, one of the best ballads, even Revelation Mother Earth, a great ballad, No Bone Movies, Steal Away the Night, I Don't Know, a great opening track. I mean, top to bottom, it's an amazing album, and rest in peace, Randy Rhoads. Alrighty. Now, here's where I feel I'm going to kill Hannah. Oh, God.
No.
Next up, number 7. Oh, I forgot to mention.
Not Emperor.
Oh! I can't do the burp. I forgot to do the burp for number 8.
Oh, no.
But anyways, oh, boy.
Oh, no.
Next up
No.
for my number 7, I have the unholy couple of black metal debuts. First, De Mysterious Dom Satanas from Mayhem.
God damn it!
I forgot about that.
God damn it!
I mean,
Levi, if you have what I think you have on the other one,
I
you're
know
gonna.
which one.
I think we all know which one.
I
is the
know
other
as
one.
well.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
Go ahead. Do it.
but anyways, with Mayhem, I mean, of course, we all know the most tragic backstory behind any album in the history of music. I mean, but of course, top to bottom, song-wise, Funeral Fog through to the title track. There's not a poor moment on here. And, I mean, Freezing Moon. Enough said.
Enough said.
Oh, I feel like after what Raphael did to me, I just want to go for this even more to make me feel better. To go along with Mayhem, I have of course it's Emperor.
They're all on my number 3, and I have another one which none of you will guess.
But
they're on my 3-way
oh,
tie.
Hannah just
and
laughed.
the third one, no one will ever guess which one it is. Maybe Hannah, but none of you will guess.
Levi, you and I had the same idea, except mine are number 5.
Yeah. But of course, In the Night Side Eclipse, what more can we say that we haven't said already on this show? This is one of those albums we all can't stop talking about, so I'm just gonna shut up and move on.
Which we'll eventually, in the future, do an entire episode dedicated to it.
Yeah.
Whenever that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, to number 6, my 4th tie. First, an album that Andres brought up, and that's Napalm Death Scum. One of the best grind albums of all time. And it's such an interesting story with that. It's 2 sides, but they're completely different bands. Like, side 1 being the more punky Celtic Frost-inspired sound, with Justin Broderick, who would eventually form Godflesh, Nick Bullen, and Mick Harris. And I like the A-side more because it has that more raw, punky vibe to it with the Celtic Frost-inspired breakdowns. But of course, I mean, songs on that A-side, like the title track, Instinct of Survival, Human Garbage, Polluted Mind's one, the only song with Justin doing the vocals, where he would eventually go with Godflesh. But then side B, when you have Lee Dorian and Bill Steer, who at the time was getting Carcass going. And it's more metal, more heavier, but way shorter. Even though more songs on side B, it's way shorter than side A, which is funny. But yeah, Napalm Death Scum, classic. And then the other one, I'm shocked. I will be honestly shocked if nobody has this on their list. Morbid Tales, Celtic Frost.
I don't have it.
You suck. And you're wrong. And you're wrong. I looked this up. Morbid Tales is an EP. That doesn't count.
No, the version I have is an album.
No, but officially, and it's on their page, the official debut is the third album that I mentioned, that I'm going to mention on my black metal triad, To Make Ethereon. Officially, Morbid Tales is an EP.
Not this version, though.
Anyway.
Hey, it's on their website.
Well, they
changed.
It changes so much, I don't even know what to think. But yeah, like all over the websites, they say it's an album. They say it's an EP. It's like they can't make up their minds. But I'm just gonna call it. An
I
album
saw
just
on the official website. So if you can't trust the official stuff, you can trust anyone.
But anyways, with Morbid Tales, I mean, yeah, this version I have has both of their, I guess, EPs, Morbid Tales and Emperor's Return, but they were recorded at the same time, so I'm just going to go ahead and call it a full debut because they were all recorded at the same time and put on this one. But I mean, you start off with Into the Crypts of Rays, and on the original version you end with Nocturnal Fear, and then like the final 3 songs that were bonus tracks, the original version of Circle of the Tyrants, Visual Aggression, Suicidal Winds. I mean, all hail Tom Warrior. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Erican and Reed Sinclair. The original Celtic Frost trio.
But now moving on to number 5, starting off with, in my opinion, the greatest grindcore album of all time, and the inventing album of death grind, Terrorizer World Downfall.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that lineup was an interesting lineup. You have, of course, Oscar Garcia on vocals, but you have Jesse Pintado, guitar, eventually joining Napalm Death, Pete Sandoval, drums, and David Vincent on backing vocals and bass. After all, Vincent produced the album with Scott Burns engineering and mixing, so another one of those early, more sound, extreme albums. But I mean, yeah, this is another one of those I like to listen to top to bottom every once in a while because it's so heavy. And not like Napalm where it's all raw, it's well produced, but still having that energy to it. And like I said, more on the death metal end of the grind sound than Scum. So, yeah, World Downfall. And then, in my opinion, the best debut in death metal history, of course, it's Scream Bloody Gore. Which I find interesting. This, as well as Seven Churches, both produced by Randy Burns, which is a fun fact no one ever brings up. They were both produced by Randy Burns, who also produced Darkness Descends by Dark Angel and Peace Sells by Megadeth. But yeah, Scream Bloody Gore, basically a two-man group, Chuck and Chris Ryford, who would eventually form Autopsy. But I mean, you can't deny the influence of Scream Bloody Gore. Granted, the rest of their catalog would get gradually better, but you can't forget the raw beginnings, as well as the album that truly invented death metal as we know it today. Moving on to number 4, No More Ties, we got single picks. Starting at number 4, the third thrash debut, Testament the Legacy.
I knew you were going to put that on the list.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there's not been a better Testament album than this. Even though their catalog, apart from Demonic and Low, the rest of their catalog is amazing. I mean, even though this will always be their best, in my opinion, they've come close with quite a few, like The Ritual, in my opinion, being the next best, which is kind of weird to think, because that's not quite thrash. It's more traditional metal, but still fucking evil. But with the Legacy, I mean, you start off with a classic song, Over the Wall, and even other underrated songs like Curse of the Legions of Death, Raging Waters, Burn Offerings, Alone in the Dark, where Chuck showcases his more cleaner side, Apocalyptic City, a classic closing track. I mean, I can't ignore the Legacy. Number 3, of course, Van Halen 1. And all I'm going to say is, Running with the Devil, Eruption, You Really Got Me, Jamie's Crying, Atomic Punk, and On Fire. Oh man, I feel like this is going to be more mass murder coming up at number 2. It is Black Sabbath, Black Sabbath.
Oh, fuck the hell off!
It's on his.
We got, I guess,
My number 1.
3. I got my ultimate revenge for today. Too bad I can't get Raphael, because he had to kill me first before I could kill him. But anyways, I mean, Black Sabbath, Black Sabbath. We talked about it on the episode last time when we did Sabbath songs. I mean, you got quite a few classics like the song Black Sabbath, The Wizard, NIB, Wicked World, and even underrated tracks like Behind the Wall of Sleep, Warning, Sleeping Village. Yeah, the version I have here, they combine Behind the Wall, Sleep, Wasp, basically, and NIB all on one song, which is weird. And then they even mix a bit of Finger, Sleeping Village, and Warning together for the final song. It's like, who thought it was a good idea to mix songs together? Didn't quite add up, but regardless.
Warner Brothers.
Oh yeah, I just see it right here, Warner Brothers label. But anyways, yeah, Black Sabbath, Black Sabbath. Without this, there is no metal. And of course, number 1, yes, it's Kill 'Em All.
Or as people like to say it, Mustaine wrote them all.
Which he really didn't. I mean, he wrote a good chunk, but not everything.
Yeah.
But regardless, I mean, it's a classic among classics, and helped to basically put thrash on the map back in its inception years. Hit the Lights, hell, the namesake of the show. You know what it is. People watching, I'm not saying it. Motor Breath, which is their shortest song.
The best damn bass solo of all time.
Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth. Whiplash, Jump in the Fire. Phantom Lord, one of my favorites. No Remorse, of course. Seek and Destroy, Metal Militia. I mean, a lot of people say this is the one true Metallica album. Come on. I mean, yeah, it's a classic, but come on, people. You can't ignore that they write great ballad songs in the future, but regardless. But yeah, that's my list. Oh,
I can go next because I don't have that many ties except for the number 3 tie.
All right, go for it.
I have at number 10, and I'm surprised no one has mentioned Motorhead's debut. The self-titled debut of Motorhead.
I forgot.
White Line Fever. White Line Fever. You all know what that is. On Parole. I know that this isn't exactly Motorhead's what would be known as Motorhead, but at least it's a hell of a debut. I mean, it has still that space vibe and such, but it's still a hell of a debut.
And not to mention the song Motorhead.
Oh yeah. Number 9, which is ironic because, oh boy, Hannah's gone. I cannot say it any longer.
Oh, there she is.
There she is.
Because Hannah, this is a bit for you because my number 9, so to say. Let me see if I can do a little bit of tweaking around here. Oh boy. Let me see if I can do a little bit of tweaking around here. And if you can listen.
Oh yeah, how could I forget Rammstein's debut?
Herzlight by Rammstein. I mean,
Flammen
Herzlied. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm still learning. But I mean,
Herzlight.
Herzlight. I mean, the album that in a way started the whole trend of Rammstein. I mean, and still some of the songs I like the most, like Wollt ihr das Bad in Flammen sehen, Asche zu Asche, Seemann, Du riechst so gut. Even the namesake Rammstein comes from. Even the namesake Rammstein comes from Herzlight, and even Heirate Mish, I love it. Let me see. Number 8, and this one I'm going to kill Ricky in a way. Let me see. Oh boy, no, it doesn't start. Shit, but it has to do with a little band from Down Under. With a little schoolboy uniform, and I say hi. I said hi, voltage, rock and roll.
High voltage.
I mean, AC/DC's High Voltage. I mean, a very underrated album in AC/DC's career, but still to this day, a hell of a debut. Number 7, of course, Blizzard of Oz. Of course, I have Blizzard of Oz on my list for all the reasons that have been mentioned. Suicide Solution, Goodbye to Romance, Mr. Crowley, one of my top 3 best Ozzy Osbourne songs of all time. Number 5. No, number 6. I'm sorry, I jumped. I also have to me what I regard as possibly the best death metal album debut of all. I'm sorry, Levi, but to me, Scream Bloody Gore has nothing on Altars of Madness. I mean, Chapel of Ghouls, Maze of Torment, Altars of Madness itself, Immoral Rites, which was one of the songs that got me hooked into death metal. I'm sorry about Scream Bloody Gore, but to me, it doesn't hold a candle to Altars of Madness. Number 5. Some of you already spoiled it. I have Merciful Fate's Melissa. I was tempted here to put maybe King Diamond's Fatal Portrait for the same reason that I mentioned about a bit about AC/DC, which is a very underrated album, being a debut. But this time, I went with Melissa because just like the follow-up, Don't Break the Oath, it's Merciful Fate at its finest. At number 4, I have Holy Diver, Dio's debut as a solo artist, and you have already mentioned many of the reasons. Holy Diver itself, Stand Up and Shout, Don't Talk to Strangers, Rainbow in the Dark, even to the day he died, and I've listened here on interviews, Dio hated Rainbow in the Dark.
Yeah.
I'll never understand why, but Dio, rest in peace, he had his reasons. But Rainbow in the Dark, despite its poppy affectations, it's a hell of a song, no matter what Dio says. At number 3, I have my, black metal trinity, so to say, that has been spoiled by Levi. How can I go without talking about debut albums without talking about In the Night Side Eclipse?
It's your third one, Immortals Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism.
Nope.
Oh,
nope.
No.
Don't tell me it's what I think it is. There's only one album.
He's already said it. He already said it.
Yeah, I already said it.
Oh, never mind.
What is...
Never mind.
Continue.
I have I have in the night side Eclipse by Emperor. Of course, I would have to put here the Mysterious Dawn Satanas by Mayhem. And despite what Levi says, I looked it up on the website. Celtic Frost's main debut album was 1985's 2 Mega Therion. Morbid Tales on the official sites is considered an EP. They've separated. Maybe you have the version where they put Morbid Tales and Emperor's Return, but on an official basis, it is regarded as an EP. You can look it up if you think I'm deceiving you. Number 2, Iron Maiden's Iron Maiden. I mean, all the early classics from the Paul Di'Anno era are there. Prowler, Remember Tomorrow, Strange World, Transylvania. Transylvania, to me, one of the songs that Iron Maiden should play a whole lot more live than, let me say, Children of the Damned.
Don't get me started.
Charlotte the Harlot.
Don't get me started.
Nah, I won't. I will just shut up right here. And last but not least, my number 1, of course, Black Sabbath's Black Sabbath. An album that is this year 50 years old, and still to this day, an album that opened up the doors for all types of heavy metal, with classics such as Black Sabbath itself, Behind the Wall of Sleep, Warning, The Wizard, and even one of my personal favorites, Wicked World, if not only for the guitar tone, but also for the jazz influence that it has there. That's my list.
Hannah?
Well, list starts with Iron Maiden's Iron Maiden. I think it's a very important album for the whole new wave of British heavy metal movement and metal in general. But from the Paul Di'Anno era, I personally prefer Killers over Iron Maiden.
As well.
Yeah. Although there are some awesome songs on here like Running Free, Phantom of the Opera, Transylvania, and Iron Maiden. But still, Killers is the more important one for me, followed by The Number of the Beast and all those amazing albums that would follow later. I think Maiden...
Overrated!
Yeah, I know. My favorite... favorite albums from Iron Maiden are all from their later career.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah. Who cares? Again, my number 9 consists of 2 albums that were very important for the development of not heavy metal, black metal. First, Venom's Welcome to Hell.
Oh, I forgot that one.
To this day, this is my favorite Venom album, although the later album Black Metal is awesome as well. I mean, you have awesome songs like In League with Satan, Man with Mercy, and Welcome to Hell on here, and this thing did a lot for the development of black metal. The music got harder, rougher, faster, and then Kronos barked vocals again. Very influential, but not as influential as the next album on my number 9, and that's Bathory's Bathory. The first,
of course,
the first true black metal album. I mean, the style on this album would be kind of the groundwork and the thing and the blueprint of what later bands of the second wave of Norwegian black metal and so on would copy, but still this album ranks pretty low on my list because I personally am not a big fan of the first 3 Bathory albums. I prefer their later work, starting with Blood, Fire, Death, but that's just my personal opinion. Then number 7, Hammerfall, Glory to the Brave.
Oh, I forgot that one.
I mean, Hammerfall is one of my favorite power metal bands, and this is, without doubt, their best album. The the first one did it the best. Everything that came out later is just a shadow of this album. It's just glorious with amazing songs like Child of the Damned.
Glory
Steel
to the Brave is beautiful. The
Yeah.
song itself is
Yeah,
beautiful.
and then Steel Mid Steel and Stone Cold, and then like Arthur said, Glory to the Brave itself. This song is just it's just a piece of beauty, and everything about this song is amazing, and especially since it was released on their first album. I mean, yeah, that speaks for itself. And then number 7, a small German band from Berlin released this album in 1995, when I was born. Rammstein's Herzeleid.
I knew it.
I mean, there were bands like Oomph and Laibach releasing songs and albums in the style of Rammstein before, but I think Rammstein perfected it, especially on this first effort of theirs. Although other albums, in my opinion, are better than Herzeleid, but still, it's an awesome album. And they recently, or at least on their stadium tour, they included some songs from this album again in their setlist, like Heirate mich. Personally, I would wish that they would play songs like Weißes Fleisch again, one of my personal favorites from this album, or Wollte das Bett in Flammen sehen.
But at least they haven't removed Zeman from the list.
Yeah, that's good, because that's one of my favorite songs. And of Zeman, there is this awesome cover of Nina Hagen, an awesome German singer, and she recorded the song with Apocalyptica, the Finnish cello band. Awesome song, awesome cover. Then number 6, it seems like I have to mention this band every episode, Agalog's Pale Folklore.
For a minute there, I thought you were going to mention the mansion. I was like, wait a minute. No, Manchester the second album. Like,
not this time.
Well, I appear to be obsessed with Agalog, and it's true. While albums like The Mantle and Ashes Against the Grain would perfect their style, I think this album was a notion in 1996. I think that there was also a blooming black metal scene on the rise in America, as opposed to what most people think. This album, a bit rougher, a bit raw, a bit darker, a bit more closely related to the origins of black metal, but still it included some of the elements that Agalog would be later known for, like the folky stuff and the atmospheric parts. And there are awesome tracks on this album, like the three-piece part, the song She Painted Fire Across the Skyline. Amazing. Certainly, it could have been released on The Mantle, basically, if you ask me. And then my favorite song of this album, Hallways of Enchanted Ebony. That song is fucking beautiful. And of course, The Melancholy Spirit. I mean, every song on this album is good. Not as good as On the Mantle or Ashes Against the Grain, but still a phenomenal album. Then number 5. Levi already talked about it. He guessed it correctly. Entombed, Left Hand Path. For me, the pinnacle of death metal. I have always preferred the European style of death metal over the American style, but that's just me. And I think this album is the peak of this style, especially given the special guitar tone on this album and the phenomenal album opener. Just for me, it's perfect. The lyrical content, in my opinion, much more appealing than gore. I'm not a big fan of that. Anyway, my number 4, Halloween, Walls of Jericho.
Isn't that an EP as well?
No, it's an album.
No, that's a full album. Well, I enjoy German power metal or speed metal or whatever you want to call it once in a while, and for me, surprisingly, I prefer Walls of Jericho over the Keeper of the Seven Keys albums, because Kai Hansen is on vocals, and I've always liked his vocal style more than the other vocalists on the later albums of Halloween. And I'm a big fan of Gamma Ray. Well, that's why this album is here. I just love this album, especially the phenomenal song "Ride the Sky." That's my favorite.
I love that song.
Yeah, with the trumpet intro and everything. It's for me, this song is just perfect. And of our favorite bubbly drinking wrestler got his name from this album.
Little bit of the bubble.
Yes. Les Champions.
Hey, that's true. That's true.
Les Champions.
Yeah, and I think,
Chris Jericho.
and I think this album was groundbreaking for the development of German speed and power metal. And then on my number 3, we have Metallica's Kill 'Em All.
Ooh.
Yeah, I almost tied this with Creator's Endless Pain, but I think Kill 'Em All is the more important one out of the two of them. And I mean, I like the album as a whole. There are a lot of awesome Metallica songs on here. We already talked about them. Well, and that's why it's here. And then my number 2, black metal duo, Emperor in the Nightside Eclipse. The most beautiful, bombastic piece of grandeur ever released in black metal, and especially taken their age into consideration, the age of Ishan and the rest of the band members. I mean, to release something and being younger than 20, I think it's just mind-boggling in my opinion. And to this day, this album has remained or has stood the test of time. It's still way ahead of its time and awesome. And I think you can hardly release a better debut album than this. And then it's tied with Mayhem's The Mysterious Dom Satanas, but more because of its tragic backstory and everything that went into the release of this album. Of course, the album itself is awesome. I've seen Mayhem now 2 times performing this thing in its entirety, and it's just glorious. In my opinion,
Glorious.
yeah.
No.
Where do I begin?
Well, in my opinion,
Until I'm
those 2
victorious.
are the best black metal debuts and did so much for the development of the scene. And number 1, it has to be Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath, the album that's basically kick-started heavy metal. And still to this day, there are awesome songs on here. We talked, or at least you guys talked about it last episode, songs like Black Sabbath, The Wizard, NIB, and so on. Awesome, phenomenal album.
All right, Raphael.
Alright. For top 10, I decided to choose first. Number 10 is Disturbed the Sick,
Ooh, I forgot about that one. Damn it.
which
I forgot about the sickness.
Next year, they're planning to play this album through its eternity live.
That's cool. It's about time they did something like that.
And number 9, I chose Cannibal Corpse and Back to Life.
Oh.
Classic.
Number 8, Slipknot's subtitled album.
Oh, I forgot about Slipknot. Ah.
Nice one.
Good choice.
That was a, I just wish Joey could have come to the band, but damn, you decided to go to Beeman. Number 7, I chose Treyu's Suicide Notes and Butterfly. That's metalcore. Number 6, Hate Internal Conquering the Throne.
Ooh.
Not bad.
Can't go wrong with Hate Eternal.
Yeah, especially since Eric Root's a member.
Interesting.
And also, interesting fact about him, he did produce majority of Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, from
Especially-
Kill through to now. Yeah.
Yeah, and he supposedly replaced, well, since his dumbass got arrested,
Well, he's been as far as the last I heard, he's released from jail. Pat O'Brien.
Well, let's see if he goes back because everything. Wow.
But anyways,
Number 5, Bullet for Mount and the Poison.
That's a good one. Even though I prefer Waking the Demon more, but
I agree. Well, even though
Scream and Fire was a badass album.
Scream Aim Fire. That was the name of the album.
Waking the Demon is a song.
I know it's been a while.
Number 4, Korn's subtitled album. Which is probably the one that started the whole new metal. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It made new metal just better. It's not because the new metal now is just
Early new metal. Korn, Slipknot, Disturbed, Soulfly. Yeah. Everything afterwards.
Especially with Limp Bizkit's.
Yeah.
You fucked it up.
Yeah.
You fucked it up. Number 3, Dio's has already been mentioned. Holy Diver. Atomic. Number 2, I decided to choose this band, which is Atomic the Fallout.
Miami
Now, this lead singer is now in the band. I'm gonna mention my number 1. Mailvine Creations, The 10 Commandments.
Oh, I forgot about Malevolent. Shit. And I remember a while back listening to the songs off that album. That is a great one.
The last
Next year,
I saw
is the
live
30
before the
year-
pandemic.
Malevolent.
Yeah, together with Christoph Batushka.
That's an
boy.
interesting lineup for a show.
Oh shit! Sorry to interrupt you. I forgot something. My number 1 wasn't Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath because there was one album far more important than Black Sabbath. Hospudi by Bart Batushka.
Oh, you
Oh
sneak.
no, shit! That was my dishonorable mention. I forgot it.
Oh.
But anyway, interesting fact about the Mailvine Creations, the 10 Commandments. Next year, they are planning with their new lead singer Ryan Taylor.
30th anniversary.
Tony Blow. It's 30-year anniversary of the 10 Commandments. Rest in peace, Bretts. So,
Yeah, Brett Hoffman.
any of you watching, prepare yourself because Mailvine's creation, well, not better than ever because Bretts have it. But yeah, get ready. 30-year anniversary of the 10 Commandments. Next year.
Alright, and then on Andres.
My number 10, Creator Endless Pain.
Good.
Pleasure to Kill is great. Don't get me wrong, but to me, I gotta say, Endless Pain. Like, that's my favorite Creator album. Always will be. My number 9, Emperor and the Night Side Eclipse. Yeah, classic album. Symphonic black metal, like that's literally my favorite genre of black metal. My number 8, Ex-Holder, Slaughter in the Vatican.
Damn it, I forgot about Slaughter in the Vatican.
This,
Honorable mention.
This is an album where
I misheard. Which one was it?
Ex-Hoarder, Slaughter in the Vatican. And I forgot about that one.
this album is like, like who sees the argument who invented groove metal? Pantera, Cowboys from Hell, and Ex-Holder.
Yeah.
There's always an argument between that, but Ex-Holder, to me, they're the first ones. Even though Pantera, I think came first for Cowboys from Hell like a couple months.
Yeah, back in
1990.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Ex-Holder needs to be mentioned. My number
8 or
my number 7.
7.
Yeah, Nothing Face, Pacifier. I don't know if. I don't
Oh,
know if
I
you guys
heard.
know
Yeah,
about
I've heard of Nothing Phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're one of the
Nothing
few
Phase.
other good new metal bands back in the old
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
Yeah, sadly, they never got the respect they deserve. They came a little bit after. I think this album came in 96, 97, around that time.
So it would
Yeah,
have been
they're-
out
to me,
after Korn. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Deftones, and then Nothing Face. But to me, like, as far as the 90s is concerned, I believe that Nothing Face Pacifier is like literally the best new metal album of all time. Then after that, they kind of went alternative metal with a little bit of death metal influences as well. Yeah, once again, rest in peace, Mount Halt. He will be missed. Now, next up, Ingest surpassing the boundaries of human suffering. I'm a big Ingested fan. They kind of created that, along with Waking the Collaborator, they kind of invented like that, like slam meets deathcore, like slamming deathcore.
Yeah.
Love that, and also I kept up with that genre for a very, very long time. It's like my favorite genres. Now, up next, Opeth Orchid.
Ooh, honorable mention.
Shit. Oh shit.
Yeah, they're also one of the first to do like that proggy meets death metal meets black metal. Like it's just a masterpiece. Like I even like their newer stuff as well. Like they never disappoint me. Like I always love that band.
Forest of October, one of my favorite Opeth songs, came off Orchid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one, you guys are probably not gonna know about this. Medusa. Medusa or I don't know how to
Orbis
pronounce it.
Orbis ad infinitum.
Yeah,
There we go.
they're like a melodic black metal band. I love those guys. I wish they had the respect they deserve. That to me, it's a classic album. If you guys like stuff like Dissection or like Emperor, you're definitely gonna like that band.
I have to look into that.
After they're done with the hiatus, come back.
Huh?
Because they're in hiatus right now.
Yeah, they're in a definite hiatus right now, and hopefully they'll come back. They're a great band. Okay, on this other band I'm gonna mention, Science of the Swarm, Senseless Order. I don't know if you guys know about them, but
I don't.
they're another band.
Nope.
Just like Ingested, they're in that like slamming deathcore genre. To me, is a pretty good album. Very, very great. My next one, this is a classic death metal album, DSI.
I almost had that on my honorable mentions.
Yeah, this one, in my opinion, as far as the vocals is concerned, to me it was more thrash metal. Like the vocals, Glenn Benson's vocals is just not as guttural as their later albums.
As Legion and the rest, yeah.
Yeah,
I did like the vocal production though, where they would mix in his lower end with his higher black metal screams. Yeah, I really liked that. Was probably the best part of the album, and like Deicide as a whole, I always say like the first 3 albums in Stench of Redemption are really the only Deicide albums anyone should really check out. Other than that, the rest of their catalog you could kind of skip.
Yeah, I mean, I still love DSI. Like all the albums, I love. Like, I also like. It's funny, Glenn Benson. I'm a Catholic, but he was talking about satanic this, satanic that. I just find it kind of funny. Like, to me, it doesn't really matter. Like,
he doesn't care about people's beliefs. I mean, hell, Ralph Santalla, when he joined for Stench of Redemption, he was a born-again Christian, but no problems at all. If anything, they would just goof off about it.
Yeah, like I said.
Especially on interviews, where Glenn would fart next to him, and Ralph's like, dude, you are so fucked. He's like, I just had too much White Castle.
Yeah. Then my number one, Dying Fetus Purification.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
I forgot
That's an album
about
that-
Purification Through Violence.
That's an album that nobody mentions. I know people will mention War of Attribution, great album, but to me, like that album, like
BRB.
that's my favorite. My favorite of Dying Fetus album, Purification Through Violence, is just like
Yeah, because it's also got one of the most brutally written lyrical songs, Skullfucked, which is one of my favorite Dying
It's
Fetus
like,
songs.
this brutal death metal with a little bit of grindcore, which then
Yeah.
later on they keep switching like.
Yeah, they
Death
go
metal
everywhere.
to
Brutal
grindcore.
death, tech death, grind. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Death grind, like they're everywhere. Like you just can't call them a death metal band. To me, they're an extreme metal band. Like, they also supposedly also another band just like Suffocation
That influenced
and even
deathcore.
Aborted. Yeah, it influenced that style, but yeah. To me,
And John Gallagher,
Great
not only a
extreme
hell of a guitarist, but one of the lowest growlers in the history of death metal, too.
yeah, two vocalists, two very badass vocalists, man.
Yeah.
You got to give it up to them. Yeah, so yeah, those are my.
Alright, well now the real work begins.
I'm missing my list.
Oh,
I haven't sent my list.
I thought I got yours, Ricky.
Nope, not yet.
Okay, Ricky.
Alright, let's just
Oh, you go, up, 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 up. I was like, is something going on?
He's
Alright,
like,
Ricky.
wait, they come and go.
I'm like, really? Whatever. At number 10, I have Dio Holy Diver. One of those albums that not only helped define what will later become power metal, but helped really Dio become a solo artist after his time with Sabbath, his time with Rainbow. It just helped him become the bigger artist that we know and love today. Songs like Holy Diver, Gypsy, Caught in the Middle, Don't Talk to Strangers, probably one of my favorite songs from the album. If you were to tell me favorite Dio album from the Dio solo catalog, it's between this one and The Last in Line.
Mm-hmm.
Number
True.
9. Number 9,
Night.
I have Battery by Battery. One of those albums that there's always this debate. Is Battery the first black metal band and all that? I will say no. Battery are not the first black metal band. That belongs to Venom. What Battery did is combine the speed of what was known as speedum at the time, combine it with a little bit of punk, a bit of raw production, and just went balls to the walls heavy, like songs like Hades, Necromancy, Race to the Dead. Great songs to listen to. Even if you're a punk fan, you're gonna love Battery because it's very punky. At number 8,
There, I got it out there.
I have a tie. First, I have Boston by Boston.
Oh,
One of the best albums of the late 1970s. I mean, songs like More Than a Feeling, Peace of Mind, Smoking, constantly playing on rock radio everywhere. I mean, in the summer of 76, More Than a Feeling was the best song played in the radio. I mean, you have no idea how many people have played this song. I mean, it is their best album next to probably The Third Stage and Don't Look Back. But it is a phenomenal album. Next to that, Archer brought it, AC/DC High Voltage. Now, it depends on which one you want to point out because there's two versions of High Voltage. There's the 75 High Voltage that has half of High Voltage with half of another album called TNT. And you have the 76 version released by, I think it was Columbia, that combines both albums. But if you want to either or, great start to AC/DC. They're my favorite band of all time. You have TNT, High Voltage. If you want to, tongue twisted. You Can't Stop It, You Wanna Rock and Roll. I mean, the whole album is great, and it helped AC/DC become the band that we know and love today. Number
True.
7, I have a trifecta of death metal. I have Death, Scream Bloody Gore, Possess, Seven Churches, and Morbid Angels, Altars of Madness. Possess, Seven Churches has always been the link between thrash metal and death metal. Because it has very thrashy riffs, but at the same time bringing that evil satanic thing to what will become death metal, kind of like with Slayer, but not as but Slayer kind of did it over the top, not as much as Possessed did, but still bringing that evil raw production. With Scream Bloody Gore, the whole album you can think of as a horror movie. That's the thing I like about Scream Bloody Gore. Every song you can consider it a horror movie. I mean, for fuck's sake, they have a song called Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm. One of their best songs, too.
One of the best songs, probably my favorite death song of all time.
Especially with that opening solo intro.
Mm-hmm.
That melodic solo intro.
Yeah, and it helped define what would later become death metal, even prog death metal, because we know by the late 90s, Chuck was more into the more progressive thing. Mm-hmm. So, in a way, there's no reason why Chuck is called a godfather of death metal, because, hell, it's Scream Bloody Gore.
Yep.
And with Altars of Madness, Altars of Madness was one of those albums that at first I didn't get why it was so hyped. But as time went by, I got into more death metal, I realized that Altars of Madness is an album that some people say that it's their best, because it is. And that's about it, because it's hard when you write your first album. You can have your entire life writing your first album and then create a masterpiece of an album, and then after that, try your best to top off what you did prior is really hard, especially right now. With so many good songs, so many good music out there, it's hard right now to top off your first album. At number 6, kind of a guilty pleasure one. Hymns, Greater Love Songs, Volume 666.
Should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
This was an album that helped define what would become goth metal. And this was during the time that some of the Finnish bands were associated with what happened in Norway in the early 90s. And I like the story that Ville Valo says that once the album came out and they would go perform it live, a lot of the true black metal Finnish bands in Finland didn't want them playing in their venues because they were in black metal, even though they were black metal. And the satanic people that were really satanic didn't want them to be satanic because they're not satanic, just because they had the whole 666. I mean, the whole album is revolved the 666, 6666 on the time, the rotations, everything's involved with the number of the beast. And it's a weird thing because, like I said, this was during the early to late 90s where Norwegian black metal was associated with what happened in Norway. So it was hard for them to get a cult following, but it eventually came by until they released Razor Blade Romance that helped them out a lot. But you got songs like probably my favorite hymn song of all time, When Love and Death Embrace, For You, The Heartless, the cover Wicked Games. All songs that you can say could fit in the Crow movie. Because, to be honest, when I listen to this album and watch The Crow, they go hand in hand. Number 5, I have the unholy duality of black metal. Mayhem, Dom Mysterious, Dom Satanus, and Emperor in the Night Side Eclipse. What more can I say about those two? What more can I say about those two albums that you guys already said? So I'm gonna move on. Number 4, I'm the only one who has it on the list. Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction.
It was on my honorable mentions.
Yeah, you can say a lot of shit for Axl for what he is right now.
Yeah.
I'm happy he's not in AC/DC anymore. But back in the late 80s, glam metal was starting to get stale, and we needed a band that not only combined glam metal but brought back the hard rock of metal. So then you got Appetite for Destruction, Slash, Axel, Duff McKagan, Steven Adler, Easy Stradley, combined together and created this. Some people call it the greatest debut album of all time. I don't think it is. It's up there, but not the greatest. But created some of the best songs in your whole discography. Welcome to the Jungle, Sweet Child of Mine, My Michelle, Rocket Queen. And talk about Slash becoming one of the greatest guitarists out there. I mean, come on. It's Slash, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
At number 3, Kill 'Em All. I'm not gonna talk about much because Levi basically told everything that there is to this.
Yep.
One of the best debut albums out there. At number 2, Iron Maiden, but Iron Maiden. Probably one of the, in my opinion, you talk about the Diano era. I like the debut album, and I'm gonna say it once. I'll say it again. Steve, I love you, but that album cover kind of funky, just me.
He's like, oh, don't start.
But you got some like Charlotte the Harlot, Transylvania, Phantom of the Opera, the title track, Running Free. I wish they could play a bit more of those songs live.
I second that.
Yeah, hopefully they can do that eventually when this whole shit gets resolved and we come back to normal lives. And number 1, Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath. What more can we say about the originators of heavy metal? Turning 50 years. 50 years. That says a lot in 50 years, especially some of the songs are still played in rock radio. I mean, the title track, NIB, Behind the Wall of Sheep, The Wizard,
Wicked World,
Evil Woman, even though that's like more of a cover, but still it's a phenomenal album that without Black Sabbath, none of us will be here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my list.
Here.
Alright, and now the real work begins.
All right,
Constructing the Horsemen podcast a final top 10. I think right off the bat, it's safe to say Black Sabbath goes straight to number 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
That goes straight.
Black Sabbath. Number 2.
I would say number 2, Kill 'Em All, because it was ranked fairly high for almost everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could go with that.
Alright, now number 3.
I would say number 3. I mean, we all, or most of us, had In the Night Side Eclipse and The Mysterious on our list. I think it's safe.
I
Yeah,
second
both of
that.
them.
I would
both
go
of
with
them.
that.
So both of them are number 3, Emperor and Mayhem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alright, and then number 4.
I would go with Iron Maiden.
I mean, I would put probably Maiden.
I would put it on the list, but not
First,
4.
I think it's too high for that album.
Yeah, because a lot of us didn't have it that high up. Or it was in our mentions for...
How about Scream Bloody Gore?
I would say Scream probably lower on the list. Because I feel like when it came to...
I didn't have that on my list.
I feel like when it came to when we were talking death metal, I think Altars of Madness got more rank.
Personally,
Yeah,
I think we should put Scream Bloody Gore, Altars of Madness, and Left Hand Path together
At
as
number 5,
number
yeah.
3.
But we're forgetting
If we
about
did,
seven.
if we
And
did that
seven,
for black metal, we can do that for death metal as
But
well.
what about
I don't
seven?
know.
But what about Seven Churches?
Instead of left
I
hand,
think we didn't talk about that enough.
Yeah, I think only 2 of us, only Ricky and I
Yeah.
had that.
So number 4,
So
Death,
number
Scream
4,
Bloody
Death,
Gore,
Morbid Angel, Entombed.
Morbid Angel,
Altars of Madness and Entombed Left Hand Path.
and Entombed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and number 5.
I'm gonna fight.
this is
I
Vader.
feel like I'd fight for Van Halen 1 to get into the top 5. Honestly.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because it is a classic, and
I'll give it to Van Halen. Everyone go with Van Halen number 5?
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, Van Halen.
and now for the
Number
second half
now
of the list.
6. Battery. We gotta
Maiden
say Bathory.
first.
Actually,
Maiden
no,
first.
Maiden first.
I'd go
first.
Maiden
All
ahead
right,
of Bathory.
Iron Maiden. All right, Maiden number 6, number 7.
Oh, you know what? We
Bathory?
need... Actually, Bathory not there. We need Holy Diver up there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We have to
all
have
it
Holy
on
Diver
our
up in
lists,
Yeah.
there.
Dio Holy Diver.
Then we can go
Uh,
Bathory. Which leaves
Sure.
2 spots. Now, this is where it's
Okay,
going
now-
to get bloody.
Let's-
I think a lot of us talked about Rammstein, Herzeleid.
I didn't talk about Rammstein.
Yeah, I didn't
forgot
talk
about-
about it. Wasn't on
I
my
didn't
list.
talk
I
about
think
it.
only Hannah and Arthur had it.
True.
Wait,
But
But
well,
maybe for number 10.
maybe. What about Blizzard of
Maybe.
Oz?
Blizzard of Oz.
Yeah.
What about Ozzy?
No, Blizzard of Oz, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all talked about it.
Now I'm
so
trying to
that's-
figure out like other albums that had like multiple people speaking about it. So yeah, there
what else?
was Rammstein, there was
Did anyone else besides me talk about Melissa?
I did.
In my honorable mentions.
Yeah, it was in my honorable mentions as well.
Yeah. Sure. Now this is where we're gonna bump heads,
Yeah, cuz
now we're getting the 10 that we have to definitively decide.
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't mind go with Rammstein. I would not mind go with Herzleit. Sorry. But if there's anyone else that you want to put out, I mean, we can debate.
I mean,
what
I'm
else
trying to think this through a little bit.
What else did we mention? I know there was one that completely caught me off guard. That was like,
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what that was too.
Hello?
Oh yeah, Walls of Jericho. That was.
I was gonna say Led Zeppelin, but no, not
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin, I had that one on my honorable mentions too.
Yeah.
And we did mention a lot of Show No Mercy Slayer.
Some of us,
I
had an
yeah.
honorable mention though.
Honorable mentions as well.
I didn't mention Show No Mercy.
Let's
see, some of us mentioned Obsessed by Cruelty. I think it was just.
I think it was
Levi
just me,
mentioned.
but I didn't really put it on the list. I was just bringing it up as a
Just
comparison point
just
to
like
Endless Pain.
I
Well, a
just
couple of us
just
had
like I
Endless Pain by
mentioned-
Creator. Some of us had that.
just like I mentioned Motorhead's self-titled, but no one else did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's a tough list.
Oh man. Shit.
And hell,
Oh,
there were
man.
other debuts that I just remembered that I completely forgot about, like the first Nile album, Alice in Chains Facelift. I completely forgot about that one.
I forgot about Diamond Head Nation to the
Lightning to the
Nation.
Nations, yeah.
Lightning
Yeah.
to the Nations. yes.
That was another one I forgot.
We could have
Let's see.
Bonded by Blood, but it was only.
Yeah, I only had Blonde.
Yeah.
I think I was the only one that had Bonded by Blood in honorable mentions.
Yes,
Maybe
yes,
DC?
yes, it was.
Did we all mention AC/DC?
Nah, I
did.
think only
I
Ricky and
mentioned
Arthur
High
did.
Voltage.
I was gonna.
So
say
it sounds
Appetite for
like
Des-
it's between. So it sounds
I was
like
gonna-
it's
I was gonna
Alright.
say Appetite for Destruction, but none of us. had
only
it that
you
high
and
on the list.
Arthur had
No,
it. Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Or maybe
Yeah,
we
I
should.
had on my honorable mentions as well. It
Maybe
didn't make
we
the
should-
list.
Maybe we should tie Rammstein and AC/DC.
Yeah, because I was thinking it was going to be between those two. Just thinking about it.
Why not? Why not?
I mean,
Yeah, why not?
did we mention Dissection, or was it just?
No, I
me?
think it was just
Just
you.
you, just you.
Just you.
Uh,
Just like how I was the only one that brought up Suffocation.
mm,
I mean, if it only were up to me, I would have put that at number 10, but I was the only one that had that one, but it is what it is.
Was I the only one that also mentioned Melissa? Just out of
No,
curiosity.
I did.
I had it on my honorable mention list.
Same here.
Okay, so what we have right now for the 10 right now: Black Sabbath, Metallica,
Yes.
Kill 'Em All, Emperor,
Yes.
The Night Eclipse with Mayhem, Do Mysterious, Death, Scream Bloody Gore with Morbid Angel, Ultra Sarbanthus with Entombed, Left Hand Path,
Yes.
Van Halen, Iron Maiden,
yeah.
Iron Maiden,
Mm-hmm.
Dio Holy Diver,
Yes.
Bathory,
Yes.
Ozzy Blizzard of Oz,
Yes.
and Rammstein Headsalot with AC/DC high voltage.
If I were to make one last second change, I would swap Maiden and Dio.
Yeah.
Personally, because I think most of us had Holy Diver higher up than Maiden.
Yeah, we.
I had Maiden at number 2 and Holy Diver at number 4, but
I had
that's
true.
personal taste.
I had Maiden at 2 and Dio at number 10.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, so we're right with the list. Now we just gotta figure out where we're right with the order.
I think the order we got it is
I think
fine.
the order is fine.
Yeah,
So,
Sabbath,
so-
Metallica, then Emperor
So
Mayhem.
for sure, Black Sabbath stays at the top.
I think the top 2
Yes.
are fairly safe, yeah.
Yeah,
Sabbath
Black
and
Sabbath
Metallica.
and Metallica, they
I would
stay at the
say,
top.
I would say the top 4. I would say,
Yeah,
I would
top
say the
4,
top
I'd
4
say.
are
Yeah.
fairly secure.
Yeah, Black Sabbath, Metallica, Emperor Mayhem, Death, Morbid Angel, Ultra Samantha. Those 4 stay there.
And then 2.
Yeah, that's unchangeable.
And now from 5 to 10. Now this is where we're
I
gonna
think
have
Van
some bump
Halen
heads.
1's fine at number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
can
give
live,
I give on that one. I
can-
can concede on that one.
Yeah, I can live with Van Halen at number 5. But I'm still saying Bathory that low over like I don't know.
I would still put. I could concede on Van Halen, but Bathory, that's a bit of a stretch.
Oh yeah.
It is.
First,
Yeah,
I think Bathory is fine there, since a lot of their
We did
later
talk
releases
about it,
were
yeah.
better.
Mhm.
Yeah. they
I mean,
changed
is there
the
another
style.
album that we forgot to mention, or is it some another one? 'Cause-
I mean, I was the only one that mentioned Venom, but maybe tie Bathory with Venom.
No one else mentioned Venom. That's
yeah,
the problem.
No one mentioned
that
that.
is
Yeah.
the one problem, though.
Or- That's the thing.
or adding Melissa to Bathory.
I would
since-
go. Yeah, I would go with Melissa because few of us did talk about it quite a bit.
so I'll add Melissa with Bathory.
Yeah,
Okay.
Merciful Fate with Melissa.
it does pain me a little bit we don't have Celtic Frost up there. But of course,
Yeah,
there was
but-
a difference between Artor's to Megatherion and then me thinking with Morbid Tales.
That would be a debate for another.
So that's
time.
the issue with Celtic Frost.
Although Morbid Tales has a hell of a song in Dethroned Emperor.
I think every song
Okay.
on that's amazing,
Yeah.
but
Okay, so one more time. Number 1, Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath.
Yes.
Yep.
Number 2, Metallica, Kill 'Em All.
yep.
Yep.
Number 3, Emperor, Nights of Eclipse tied with Mayhem the Mysterious.
Yep.
Yep.
Number 4, Dead Scream Bloody Gore with Morbid Angels, Ultras of Madness, and Entombed Left Hand Path.
Yep.
Yep.
Number 5, Van Halen with Van Halen 1.
Yep.
Yep.
Number 6, Iron Maiden.
Yep.
Number
Yep.
7, Dio, Holy Diver.
Yep.
Yes.
Number 8, Bathory with Merciful Fate, Melissa.
Yep.
Yes.
Number 9, Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And number 10, Rammstein Headsalot with AC/DC High Voltage.
I think we're set. I think
did
that
we-
list is good.
Did we mention Holy Diver?
Yeah, number
Yeah,
7.
Dio Holy Diver. Yeah, Dio Holy Diver.
Yeah.
Which number?
At number 7.
Number 7.
Oh, okay.
I think that list is perfect. Right there.
So
Yes.
everyone's good. Last minute
I'm good.
changes. Speak now, forever hold your peace.
Going once.
Last minute.
Going
once,
twice.
Twice.
Going twice.
Sold. All right.
Sold.
So our final top 10. So number 1, Black Sabbath, Black Sabbath. Number 2, Metallica, Kill 'Em All. Number 3, a tie between Emperor and the Nightside Eclipse and Mayhem, De Mysterious Dom Satanas. Number 4, Death, Scream, Bloody Gore, Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness, and Entombed Left Hand Path. Number 5, Van Halen 1. Number 6, Iron Maiden. Number 7, Dio Holy Diver. Number 8, Bathory, and Merciful Fate, Melissa. Number 9, Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz. And number 10, Herzeleid by Rammstein and AC/DC High Voltage. there is our final top 10 for debut albums.
Oh my god.
Whew.
The next one will be another head scratcher. Oh boy.
Power metal albums, and I've got a lot of listening to do on that because I've only
Now we're
listened to
going
very few power
now
metal
we're going
albums.
to now we're going to Archer's wheelhouse.
Yep.
And Hannah, because Hannah is also a power metal fan.
To
In some
Right
aspect.
here. We're doing another power metal.
some degree, I am.
I mean, you already fill in the requisites, which is Halloween.
Oh, yeah. Oh, come on.
So our upcoming episodes we got.
Desire.
You're gonna go
Get ready for a lot
Yeah.
of get ready for a lot of sing-along for sure.
Coming up for the
Oh,
podcast,
hell yeah.
next episode, it will be power metal episodes. Then after that, it's top 10 EP/demos, and then our final episode of 2020 in December will be the album of the year list. Which that will be the one episode we're not doing the final top 10 of because it would just get too down and bloody.
Yeah. I agree.
Oh
It's gonna
yeah,
be- it's
we
gonna be
would
a
never.
mission.
We would
It's
never
gonna be a mission.
leave for that episode. We'll be like, no, why is over
No,
that? I want
this
it to
should
be
be it, not
higher."
this.
Why
Ah.
is not that? Well, wait, this almost better.
Yeah, it'd be
Exactly.
too difficult to figure out, but yeah. And then as far as what will be the first episode for 2021, I think that's going to be the Primordial to the Nameless Dead episode.
Mhm.
Finally getting to that, and then after that, I think I know one of the episodes after that will be top 10 albums of the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, damn!
Yeah,
Man, that's a tough one.
yeah. But then after that, we'll figure out the rest. But anyways,
On my list on the 90s, there'll be a lot of black metal. There'll be a lot of black metal.
there will be a lot of death metal on mine.
As well.
Mine solely consists of the Backstreet Boys.
But safe to say that the 90s was the best time for death metal and black metal.
Yeah, and I agree.
The
with
two
you.
genres that
I
reign
disagree.
supreme. Huh?
I disagree. I think
Oh.
I think from the 90s onwards, I think the 2010s were great for black metal, but anyway,
Yeah.
never mind.
But yeah,
But,
but then again, in last year we had Batushka, but that's a different story.
I'm not including that into the black metal scene. That's purely thrash. It goes in the garbage bin, in the whatever. Gets shredded.
Get out of our station. That's what I was saying.
Alright, well anyways, I think that's gonna wrap up this episode. Yeah. Horns high, and we'll see you hopefully in a couple of weeks for power metal. Get ready for swords slaying dragons.
And sing along.
Orcs, urukais, and all that other stuff.
And unicorns.
And rainbows.
And hell.
Happy rainbows.